First step in cooking for the Chinese wok, in the Chinese wok or the Asian food, is that we cook the pasta or the meat if it contains meat. So we can use fried meat or we can boiled meat. In this case I'm not gonna use any meat, no fried nor boiled. So we're gonna cook some pasta in the water. Before we're going to do that, let's eat some chocolate to get some good mood in the kitchen. Chocolate. Okay, the chocolate phase is done. Or in process. For this step, for boiling, it's good to use more heat. So it can be high fire. After that, when we are going to fry or steam, it's gonna be a low fire. So first step, meat. Then you put the meat into the plate. Then noodles, put the plate into the noodles. Then vegetables, put the vegetables into the noodle. Then fried egg with spices and garlic mixed up. Then we put back in the noodles and back in the vegetables. So basically let's just do that step by step. The noodles are boiling. In this case they are gluten-free corn noodles because they are slightly sweeter. The Asian people, they use the rice noodles or the wheat noodles. The corn noodles are nice, slightly sweet with a laurel leaf. And now that it began to boil, we can reduce the heat a little bit, by half, and cover it up to save some heat or gas at home. And we can see that the gas is spreading throughout the surface and it goes up all the way, and the heat, it goes up all the way. The wok is able to capture all the heat. And the noodles, they have to be slightly undercooked because we are going to use them later to mix with all the ingredients that are ready. Let's slightly undercook them, maybe 5 minutes. The noodles are cooked and already separated from the water, waiting. They are al dente, which is a nice word, Italian word for slightly undercooked. In this case 5 minutes, and they have had to be cooked for 7 or 8 minutes. And the Chinese trick in the Chinese wok is to steam the vegetables. You reuse the stew from the meat, from the boiled meat, or reuse the water from the noodles. In this case I added some of the broth from the noodles, the water from the noodles, 1/3 of the cup, and mix it with regular mineral water. 1/3 of the cup is okay. And we're just going to steam these vegetables and leek, or any vegetables that you like, until they change color to slightly yellow, which will give us an indication that the vegetables are well cooked. It can be also undercooked if they are fresh and clean. Let's do that. Also cover them up with a lid for the Chinese wok, which lets the vapor evaporate but keeps the heat inside trapped, because metal reflects heat. Also, if you notice that the water is evaporating, you add some more water, or chicken broth, or algae broth, or whatever you like. In this case it says home use on slow heat. It's all gonna be, because it's a nice wok, it's gonna distribute all around and all the walls. So it doesn't matter if it's slow or fast. And at home use we usually use slow heat because we want high quality food. And the restaurant, it's impossible because too many customers. They expect the order to be much more faster, like within 5 minutes. So the ingredients in the restaurant are already pre-cooked, and the cooks, they just mix them on every order, and they wash the wok within 3 to 5 minutes. At home we use slow cooking because we like high quality food at home. The vegetables are well cooked or slightly undercooked. We can see by the color they are turning to become slightly yellowish. We don't have to overcook them because there's going to be a next step when we mix them up with the egg and the noodles in the wok and cook them. And now let's test if this is anti-stick wok or not. Let's just dump them into the noodles. The Chinese grandmother would say you have to use a separate plate and whatnot. Because if you want to cook like high quality, we mix the flavor only in the last step. But I don't want to wash two plates. I just dump them into the noodle plate also. In the restaurant, you of course have to have different plates for different ingredients. Yeah, it's anti-stick, but it's kind of very sticky. The stew from the noodles, it was like glue. So this wok doesn't have to be carbonized steel or carbonized titanium. It can also be anti-stick without being carbonized. Something like that. Okay, let's move to the most difficult part, to the egg part, which the Asian grandmothers teach their children about. For the fried Chinese egg, we need crushed garlic and a little bit of oil. And the garlic we crush with a knife, or we chop it with a... And there is a technique we can do it like this. Basically, you cut it in half and then it's possible to crush with this non-sharp edge. Slowly move it like this without much pressure. One extra advice for the garlic in the kitchen. You can store it in a plastic cup to make it more accessible and easy to use. Separated bits of garlic. You need one, you take one out, and the rest you store in the fridge to keep it more fresh. And now you can smash it, and this plastic cup you keep whenever close to your area of cooking in the kitchen. And just refill it when it's empty. Okay, now we have crushed garlic in the wok. It's heating up. I use like 1 spoon of oil so that the oil from the garlic will dissolve in the oil, vegetable oil. It's a real oil, not the palm oil. Something like this, like a spoon or half a spoon. Just to dissolve the oil from the garlic. And at this stage we can also add cumin seeds or any other spices that need to be dissolved in the oil. This is gonna be red sweet chili, sweet one, not the spicy one, just because I want to have this type of flavor in this food. If it was like the carbonized wok, you will have to use a little bit of more oil. In this case it's gonna be low fat or low oil version. So the oil is gonna be like the minimum. Okay. Now the oil from the garlic is already well mixed into the vegetable oil. Let's make some stir eggs. And now it's going to be the wonder of the Chinese grandmother, the envy. The eggs did go into the slightly cold wok. It wasn't heat, it's not a carbonized one. So because the hot wok, the hot surface, it makes the surface non-stick. and the grandmother, they preach their children, so they have to be hot and carbonized so that the egg doesn't stick. But in this case, it just doesn't stick because it's an anti-stick coating. Okay, it's gonna be stir-fried egg. I can increase the fire a little bit. In this case I have 3 layers because 3 layers of stickiness, but it still moves very well. Like the layer from the noodles, the layer from the egg, the layer from the vegetables. If we do it in the carbonized wok, it's really not possible. Okay, so it's kind of done. Now the egg is done. So we move in the noodle with the vegetables. So this is almost the final step. So I realize there is a lack of oil or a lack of water, so I'll add a little bit of more oil just for the flavor from the burnt oil flavor, which burns on the surface of the wok. In the carbonized steel wok, this gives it's like the, don't remember how the Chinese people call it, but it's this slightly burnt surface of the noodles and the egg. So it gives it the flavor, the wok flavor. Just scrape it from the sides, all the egg that's stuck to the sides. It's not really stuck, it's just a little bit stuck. If I really wanted to cook it without sticking, I would heat up it a little bit more. I use more oil, but in this case it's going to be low oil, low fat version. It's a lot of manual work, a lot of work with hands in this phase. In the pre-cooking, it's all like slower, you can take your breaks, but during the final mix, it's gonna be more of these stir movements. If you want to burn the surface of the noodles a little bit, so it has this slightly burnt, slightly fried wok taste. And that's what the wok food is known for. The fried noodles are known for this, because they have this a little bit of fried and burnt taste, but they are not completely burnt. It's more like a carbon vegetable oil taste. Okay. I just sit it there for a minute or two. The final step has arrived, the step with spices, a little bit of spices. I have to add a little spices. It's going to be a little bit less, like a spoon. I have to distribute them evenly. This is curry, in this case curry, yellow curry with curcuma, black cumin, no, it's regular cumin, powder cumin, and then black pepper. Okay, it's evenly distributed. And the salt, in this case, because it's Chinese and Asian wok food, could be Japanese, Indonesians, they love their wok food too. It's gonna be soy sauce with 8 grams of salt per 100 milliliters. It's the Taiwanese version, high quality. The Japanese even higher quality. Okay. Oh, there's a little bit of leftover. So that's the final step, is just mixing them in from the sides into the center. Scraping off all the dry parts. The heat of the wok that concentrates in the middle. On the sides it's slightly milder, so even though there is like food that is stuck to the sides, it's still not burned. It only burns in the middle. So in case you move the middle, it doesn't burn that much. At least in the home fire. In the hot restaurant fire, where they use like a jet engine of a flame, or the inductive wok station. Actually, the inductive wok station is actually proper. It regulates the heat as you set the heat. Those are still a little bit wet, so you can stir them up for a minute or two. The smell is already like the wok smell. It's slightly fried smell without being actually fried. So it's more, there is a fried taste, but it's more healthy than the fast food, the fried fast food from the very popular fried food restaurants. So that's it, it's like the fried noodles in the home style cooking, which is also possible. At home it's more healthy because we use more slower fire and slightly more moderate heat, which doesn't burn the ingredient that much, doesn't create a fried, like this fried, I don't know how they call it, when you over fry the vegetable oil, or if you over fry the hydrocarbons, it creates this carcinogenic stuff which you get if you over fry your food. And this step, if the ingredients were too wet before, it's not gonna be nice. So they have to be like slightly wet but not too wet. 1/3 of the cup of the water is good enough for steaming the vegetables in the wok. Now the consistency is already proper. It's kind of dry but not too dry. You get this from experience or from your previous experiencing by eating the food. You just remember which one was good and then look for the same consistency. Okay, let's just move them over into the plate. The same plate that I used for cooking, for storing the noodles before. In the restaurant or the high quality expectation, you don't do this, but at home, who cares? Your own home, you can do it. Okay. So all done, nothing stuck to the middle. Look at this, Chinese grandmother. I switch off the fire. A little bit stuck to the edges. It's not really burnt, not really stuck, you can still move it. Yeah, that's it, it's perfect home tool. If it was a carbonized steel wok, also possible, but you have to recarbonize it for every meal so that it is anti-stick. And how you carbonize the wok? Just take a spoon of vegetable oil, paper towel, just make it like spread the oil, the vegetable oil, which in this case like the sunflower seed oil, spread it on the surface of the wok and then burn it. Just burn it like on hot fire, burn it, and then take the same paper towel, like wipe it off the burnt oil with the oily paper towel, burn it again a little bit, wipe it off with a new fresh dry towel. But there are videos about this, how you carbonize the steel woks and the titanium woks. which are perfect for restaurant, not so good for the home. For the home is better this anti-stick one. And remember, now it's hot. If I put cold water into it, it's gonna shrink and it's gonna create cracks in the anti-coat and the anti-stick coating, so you don't move the temperature differences that much. You keep it hot and let it cool down slowly, so it cools down without shrinking, so it doesn't crack the anti-stick coating. That's it. And then that's the final result. Smells well. Let's see how it tastes. Have fun cooking your own version of this. I hope you learned something, and then maybe it was helpful to you. If it was, if you have some many comments or recommendations for other people, that make a positive comment, useful and helpful comment for other people. And remember to have fun in the kitchen. Just for fun and just because we can also cook some pancakes in the Chinese wok, the domestic Chinese wok. Here's the direct comparison between a small frying pan and the domestic Chinese wok, with the surface is the same. The ceramic layer, this one has 5 layers and this one has 3 ceramic layers. So they're basically almost the same. The difference of this one is that it gets the heat from below and it distributes the heat along all of the edge. So it is better at the heat distribution. And the frying pan, you see there's a same time I put them in, they have a different color. And in this case it's a banana pancake. It's the egg, banana and 2 spoons of white pre-cooked corn flour, just because we can, to satisfy our gluten-free diet, or just because it's more sweet than the usual wheat flour. So in this case you can see direct color comparison. This one is slightly more yellowish brown and this one is more brownish brown. So the frying pan, it doesn't distribute the heat on the edge, it distributes them up or around. And the Chinese wok, in this version, the domestic one, distributes all along the edge, so it's kind of more moderate the heat. So this is a very visual example for why the Chinese wok, or in this case the domesticated version of the Chinese wok, is a good tool for cooking, and we can be happy about that. And now let's cook how the professional cooks cook in the environment of a restaurant. In the restaurant, the cooks use a more high intensity heat and high intensity fire. They use a different type of wok than we can use domestically. So in this case, this is a carbonized steel wok on a high intensity gas flame. What we see, most of the ingredients are already pre-cooked on the same day and stored in the refrigerator for later. We see the cooks processing orders. Most of the ingredients are pre-cooked. The egg and the vegetables are cooked for every order fresh, because the egg and the vegetables don't require much cooking. So now we see the cook added some water and he lets the ingredients steam in the water. Just 1 cup, half a cup of warm water, clean mineral water. Could be also like chicken stew, but in this case it's a neutral ingredient, just water. One can also add a little bit of salt into the water, just to remove the step of adding salt. But in this case it's just simple plain water, slightly warm water. Stirring is very essential on this high heat. Now the cook will add the spices as the last step of the cooking process. The water already evaporated. And now the food starts to become slightly crispy and slightly fried on the outside. When the water is evaporated and the oil and the food starts to fry, it's the time to remove the food from the heat. So one order is in the process, the second one is almost cooked. When the water completely evaporates and it starts to fry, the outside of the food, the cook removes the food from the flame. And this setup, now he will clean the wok with water, just water, and a little bit of oil from the food. The little bit of oil remains in the wok. Now he adds some clean water, removes it. It's just 2 cups per wok for cleaning, more efficient. So it's just like half a liter, 1 liter per cleaning per customer. Now the cook will gonna add some soy sauce, medium thick one. Different soy sauces have a different flavor. Could be more mushroom-like, could be more prawn-like, could be more soy-like, could be more meaty, could be more liquid, less liquid. There are different types of soy sauces, which depends on the order. The second order will have some oil, some egg, prepared egg. Now the egg is fried, he will add some vegetables and pre-cooked noodles or fresh noodles, which don't require that much cooking, which is perfect for the restaurant type of cooking, and a little bit of water for steaming. Second order, or the initial order, is already slightly ready. The water did evaporate very quickly on this high intensity fire. It could be also inductive heating, inductive workstation, which is a little bit more expensive, doesn't require that much ventilation, doesn't require fireproofing, can have a more exact heat. Now the cook is scrubbing off the rest of the food, adding some water, cleaning it up, letting the rest of the oil carbonize on the wok surface. And the carbonized oil is like a layer of nanocarbon that prevents the food from sticking. The high intensity flame, the high heat, and this carbonized layer of vegetable oil, it prevents the steel wok from being sticky. It's a neat trick which we can use also in our kitchens at home, but in our case we don't require that much heat, so we can use more convenient forms of woks that have anti-stick layers. Could be Teflon, could be ceramic. Ceramic is better. Or we can use this carbonized steel wok. Once again, the same process all the time. A little bit of oil, some egg, could be spices in the oil. He cooks the egg slightly faster, so he adds the vegetables and mushrooms on top of the egg, which fried like almost instantly, and noodles that are already pre-cooked. Different types of noodles do require a different amount of time in the wok. A little bit of water to steam everything up. So you see, the ingredients in the restaurant are already more pre-cooked. At home we have to cook them separately. In the restaurant they're already pre-cooked in the first half of the day, and then later on the cooks just add them into the wok to finalize the cooking process. At home we have to do everything step by step. So the initial step, the cooking steps, they were already done. And we see in here a different wok station, different cooking process, different restaurant, same strategy. Let the vegetables steam in the little bit amount of water. If there's no egg, then you don't have to steam the egg and the vegetables at the same time. So the steaming and frying doesn't work that well. So you have to separate this step. So usually you just steam the vegetables, put them into the plate, then fry the egg, put the egg into the vegetables or the vegetables into the egg, and then add the noodles on top of that. Add some spices, salt, soy sauce, whatever. Now we see the cook lets the wok to be hot, and there is some residue of the vegetable oil from the last order, and this oil is gonna evaporate, is gonna burn, is gonna carbonize and create a very thin layer of nanocarbon, which will prevent the food from being stuck to the wok. This is the basic trick of the high flame and carbonized oil, vegetable oil. So this is why the cook lets the other wok sit on the flame even though there is no food, because he lets this oil to burn off and be carbonized, so that the next order doesn't stick to the wok and the wok gets hot enough for the next order. You can also overburn it, so you have to watch it. Once it's already burnt, you just switch it off. As you see, in this case, he's gonna start the process. He has the wok heated up, so he adds some oil, a little bit of oil, egg, stir it up, stir the egg, and now the vegetables into the fried egg. So it's going to be slightly fried, the vegetable fries slightly, and now comes the water. In this case, water with stew. Could be chicken stew, could be algae stew, could be bone broth, could be vegetable stew. Okay, this wok is not in use, so you're gonna switch it off until the next order comes into. Different restaurants have a different amount of orders and they have to use a different setup for their kitchen. This one doesn't have as many orders as the first one, so they can be slightly more relaxed and use a smaller workstation. Those are the spices and the salts and the soy sauces. So now he lets heat the wok heat up a little bit, so this one wasn't that much preheated, but still works well. So it's a more higher speed, higher intensity environment than what we do at home. And at home we cook for high quality, low heat, slow cooking, but the steps are the same. Steam the vegetables, fry the egg or the meat, mix them with the vegetables, cook the noodles. In this case, the noodles are already pre-cooked on the first half of the day, so the first step is actually cooking the noodles. But because they're already cooked, the cooks don't have to repeat it for every order. In this case, the noodles is the last step. But when you cook at home, the noodles or the rice or the vegetables, they have to be cooked or steamed as the first step. And then we fry the egg or the meat or the vegetables, and then we, as the last step, we mix them up. And the last step is the spices, which will add flavor and this delicious taste that we like. And we don't want to overcook the spices, we want to spread them through the food evenly, but don't overcook so they don't lose their spiciness, so they will remain they keep their flavor. And so this is why we add the spices a little bit at the end. And we'll let the food a little bit to burn a little bit, to fry a little bit, so it will have a little bit of this fried taste without being fried completely. This is why the wok food is more healthy than the completely fried food from the fast food restaurants. Because it's not completely fried, it's only fried a little bit on the outside, slightly burnt. For some reason the humans, they like this fried taste a lot. We like it so much that we eat this completely deep fried food that is very unhealthy, but we still eat it because we like it a lot. And if you want to eat fried and healthy, it better be in this style, which is slightly fried on the outside but already cooked or steamed in the water before that. It's a more healthy way of cooking fried food. So now repeat the same process 1000 times in a day. Preheat the wok, carbonize the wok, put some oil and egg, fry and steam the vegetables, and add the pre-cooked noodles, add the spices, fry it a little bit, and ready for the customer. The good thing about this is these orders are completed fast, within 3 to 5 minutes, and the customer can be happy and satisfied very quickly. It's all set up to be fast and convenient for the customer. Fast for the cook, fast for the customer. But there is also a preparation that is involved in this type of cooking. After the shift there is cleaning, before the shift there is pre-cooking of the ingredient, pre-cooking of the meat, pre-cooking of the noodles. So when you see this and you think the noodles are not completely cooked, no, they are completely cooked already before that, or pre-cooked. And the flame is very intense. It has to be intense if you want to keep up the speed and satisfy the customers. They don't want to wait for their order too much. It's a good show. It's like a campfire at work. Or if you use the inductive heating one, inductive stove, the fire is not an issue and there is not existent. It's a more efficient way to cook, and it's the future, the inductive one, because you can regulate the heat. In here we have one very good example for why the Chinese wok is a very universal tool, and it's a good tool for steaming, for frying, for baking, not so much for making anything on fire, except of baking. Or one can also bake when we add sand inside and put something into the sand, then it also will bake. In here we have an example of steamed vegetables. And to steam the vegetables one has to add some water or stew, better chicken stew or beef stew or algae stew or some kind of stew fermented, or water and spices. In the case of a more professional one, this is a half a cup of water mixed with sweet chili, dill, spicy curcuma, crushed garlic, spoon of soy sauce and half a spoon of wasabi. So we have this amount of water. It's a bit too much even. And now the water is going to evaporate from the vegetables. The better part of this is that if we will be cooking in the cooking pot, then the vegetables they will be kind of cooked. And if we cook in the Chinese wok or in any other type of wok, then the vegetables will be half cooked and half cooked on, let's say, half boiled and half cooked on vapor, on water vapor, because some parts of the vegetables are exposed to air, so it's going to be only cooked by vapor. And because the wok is able to capture the heat from the sides, from the round sides, the fire is rising from the round sides and it goes all the way up and it hits all the sides, because heat rises up. So it rises up and captures all the heat on the side of the wok, because it's round and it's more extended than the regular cooking pot. So half of the vegetables are going to be boiled, half of them is going to be steamed. And in the middle of the cooking process, you just can mix them. So it's going to be half steamed, half cooked, all of them. Just cover them up. And this is the more universal lid for the wok, which has holes on top. Keeps the heat inside, lets the vapor evaporate. So it lets anything to be steamed. One can make steamed buns. The Chinese people, they make the breakfast buns within 5 minutes. They're already pre-cooked, so they put them inside on a platform and half a cup of water, and then steam them in the vapor. Close the lid, go brush the teeth, open up the wok, and their buns are ready. So that's basically it. It's the Chinese wok is also a good tool for steaming vegetables or steaming anything after it's been cooked. Even meat can be steamed. Let's cook that. Cooking with good tools in the kitchen is a lot of fun. In this case we cook stir-fried potato with vegetables, carrots, onion, mushrooms, and mollusks that have a lot of magnesium and other minerals from the sea. The wok is a good tool for stir frying because the oil doesn't drop outside of the wok. In case of the frying pan, it's slightly shorter, so it splashes the drops of oil. And the wok prevents this, it keeps the kitchen more clean, and it's a lot more fun to stir fry vegetables. Nice tools in the kitchen do increase the joy of cooking. Have fun, make your own version. Thank you for supporting the Creative Commons movement. Make a like, make a comment, make a positive, useful comment so that other people can learn something new. Or just say your favorite food that you like to cook.